The Gospel of Mark. Jesus condemned and mocked. Mark 15, 2-20. Introduction. 1. As mentioned previously, Jesus faced two trials prior to his execution. A. The ecclesiastical trial, in 3 stages. 1. The preliminary hearing before Annas. John 18:12-14 and 19-24. 2. The midnight trial before Caiaphas and the council. Mark 14:53-65. 3. The morning consultation of the council. Mark 15:1. B. The civil trial, also in 3 stages. 1. Before Pilate, the Roman governor. Mark 15:2-5. 2. Before Herod, the tetrarch over Galilee. Luke 23:6-12. 3. Before Pilate again. Mark 15:6-15. 2. We turn our attention to events related to the civil trial as found in Mark's Gospel. A. Jesus before Pilate. Mark 15:2-15. B. Jesus mocked by Roman soldiers. Mark 15:16-20. Pilate asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" He answered, "So you say." The chief priests accused him of many things, again asked him, "Have you no answer? See how many things they testify against you." But Jesus made no further answer, so that Pilate marveled. Now at the feast he used to release to them one prisoner, whom they asked of him. There was one called Barabbas, bound with those who had made insurrection, men who in the insurrection had committed murder. Mark 15:2-7. The multitude, crying aloud, began to ask him to do as he always did for them. Pilate answered them, saying, "Do you want me to release to you the king of the Jews?" For he perceived that for envy the chief priests had delivered him up. But the chief priests stirred up the multitude, that he should release Barabbas to them instead. Pilate again asked them, "What then should I do to him whom you call the king of the Jews?" They cried out again, "Crucify him." Mark 15:8-13. Pilate said to them, "Why, what evil has he done?" But they cried out exceedingly, "Crucify him." Pilate, wishing to please the multitude, released Barabbas to them, and handed over Jesus, when he had flogged him, to be crucified. The soldiers led him away within the court, which is the praetorium, and they called together the whole cohort. They clothed him with purple, and weaving a crown of thorns, they put it on him. They began to salute him, "Hail, King of the Jews!" They struck his head with a reed, and spat on him, and bowing their knees, did homage to him. When they had mocked him, they took the purple off of him, and put his own garments on him. They led him out to crucify him. Mark 15:14-20. 1. The participants. A. Pilate the Roman governor. 1. Pontius Pilate, the 5th Roman governor of Judah 26-36 AD. Mark 15:2. 2. Often harsh, Jewish sources charge him with greed and cruelty. Luke 13:1. B. Chief priests. 1. Who had plotted to kill Jesus and sent to arrest him. Mark 14:1-43. 2. Who had tried Jesus at the home of Caiaphas. Mark 14:53. 3. Who had delivered Jesus to Pilate. Mark 15:1-3. C. Barabbas. 1. The prisoner released in Jesus' stead. Mark 15:6-15. 2. A rebel guilty of murder and a robber. Mark 15:7. John 18:40. D. The multitude. 1. A crowd who had gathered to ask for the release of a prisoner. Mark 15:8. 2. prompted by the chief priests to clamour for Barabbas instead of Jesus. Mark 15:11. 3. Eventually crying out, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Mark 15:13-14. E. The soldiers. 1. Who mocked Jesus. Mark 15:16-20. 2. Who ultimately crucified him. Mark 15:20. 2. The charges. A. Made by chief priests. 1. He perverts the nation. Luke 23:2. 2. He forbids to pay taxes to Caesar. Luke 23:2. Yet Luke 20:22-25. 3. He claims to be Christ, a king. Luke 23:2. 4. He stirs up the people, teaching throughout Judea and Galilee. Luke 23:5. B. Considered by Pilate. 1. Who asked Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Mark 15:2. A. To which Jesus admitted. Mark 15:2. B. Though his kingdom was spiritual. John 18:36-38. 2. Who marveled at Jesus' silence regarding the other charges. Mark 15:3-5. 3. Who ascertained that it was envy that motivated the chief priests. Mark 15:10. 4. Who did not think Jesus was guilty of death. Mark 15:14. Luke 23:13-15. 5. Whose wife wanted him to release Jesus. Matthew 27:19. 6. Who finally sought to gratify the crowd to avoid a tumult. Mark 15:15. Matthew 27:24. 3. The abuse. A. Jesus was scourged. 1. By the instructions of Pilate. Mark 15:15. John 19:1. 2. This involved being tied to a post and beaten with a leather whip that was interwoven with pieces of bone and metal, which tore through skin and tissue, often exposing bones and intestines. In many cases, the flogging itself was fatal. ESVSB. B. Jesus was mocked. 1. By soldiers who led Jesus to the hall called Praetorium. Mark 15:16. 2. Who clothed him with purple and a twisted crown of thorns on his head. Mark 15:17. 3. Who saluted him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews." Mark 15:18. 4. Who struck him on the head with a reed. Mark 15:19. 5. Who spat on him. Mark 15:19. 6. Who mockingly worshipped him. Mark 15:19. 7. Who stripped him and put back on him his clothes. Mark 15:20. Conclusion. 1. Again, the barbarous injustice at Jesus' trials is evident. A. The false charges and physical abuse. B. A cowardly governor acquiescing to a manipulated crowd. 2. But lest we forget, this was in keeping with God's divine providence. A. Which Jesus acknowledged in his predictions and prayers. Mark 8:31-33 and 14:36. B. Which Peter proclaimed in his first sermon on Pentecost. Acts 2:22-24. All in fulfillment of Isaiah's prophecy. Isaiah 53:4-12. Shall we not respond accordingly? Acts 8:30-38. The end. The Gospel of Mark. Jesus condemned and mocked. Mark 15:2-20.